Let's call it the MIDI Guitar 2 Chord Rotator setup for now. And let me give you a walkthrough of what I've set up here. So I have the Roland FC300 here on the floor with the possibility of using 5 patches or 5 different assignments as it is right now. The idea here is to not emulate perhaps, but at least get something close to the Michael Brecker Chord Rotator setup. And I've set it up with the grain synth from Reason, and I have UVI's Falcon, and I have the Serum synth as well. On the first channel, you can all see it light up here. That's the red symbol for me arming that track. And let's listen to it. These are just 3 different sounds I've loaded just so you can see how I'm using this setup to go between them, because the setup in itself is kind of tricky. It involves a harmonizer that should emulate, that is doing this chord rotating stuff behind the scenes, and I'll show you that later. But first of all, let's go through the synths. You heard first here was the Falcon, and all of these sounds, since I'm using the breath controller, I'm also using presets from the Art of Wind Synth. You should check them out. I have the link in the description here below. So that goes for the Reason sounds, the Falcon sounds, and the Serum sounds. There are more sounds and more synths to use, but I'm not using those not right now. This is complicated enough. So the next synth is, I guess, the Serum. Here you hear the rotating stuff going on in the background. If I set this to mono, you'll hear the sound as it comes from the Art of Wind Synth. Use the polyversion since I'm going via an external harmonizer that I'm going to show you. But now first the third synth and preset as well. You hear I'm using the chord rotator on this one as well. So the chord rotator is actually sending out MIDI back to Ableton in this case. and I'm using an all channels in on both Serum and Reason and Falcon as well. Falcon, on the other hand, is mono, so that's why it's not sounding like the Chord Rotator stuff. So I'm using the monophonic sound just because I want it for the bass. The fourth sound I'm using, you see it here on channel 6. It's is a saxophone from audio modeling. Usually I have some instruments working with the breath controller and some not, but in this case everything is going via the breath controller and my foot controller, of course, selecting the channels of the instruments. You can put these in any kind of combination, of course, during or throughout any sort of improvisation. So these are sort of the basic elements of this setup. Of course, I'm using MIDI guitar as always, and the setup is also, as always, polyphonic, band range 2, since all of the presets, I guess, from the Art of Wind Synth are coming, I think, with that band range set to them. So you save a lot of time just loading those presets into the synths and just play, instead of trying to find all the places to make the settings, because there are tons of places, especially in like Falcon. I guess I would perhaps find the most of them in Serum and in Reason, but in Falcon I'm not sure, since there are so much stuff to look at. And I'm more of a player kind of guy, so I really like when I can get my hands on some sort of preset and just play. So now to the heart of this. Here we have something called the MIDI Harmonizer. I'll have a link in the description for this one as well, since I haven't seen it that much out and about really, and this is really a fantastic tool for us that likes innovations like Michael Brecker's chord rotator stuff. You can also do a lot of other interesting stuff. I've only used one of the presets in this one, so this is how this works. I'll load up my Ableton to begin with. Without this, this is a program I'll have to start afterwards, and then decide on what MIDI in I'm going to use. And I'm using the MIDI guitar in, since I have this plugin on one of the audio channels. I can't really start this software before I start the Ableton software. So that's why I'm doing it in that order. So I'm setting first I'm setting Ableton up, and afterwards I'm setting this up. And the only thing I really do here now for this patch is to change the MIDI in to MIDI guitar in. I have these options. These are my controller options. my different controllers that I can use, but I'm using MIDI guitar in only since I want to use the guitar as the controller. MIDI out, I'm leaving the solo part unused, and I'm choosing that particular channel or output. Like so. If I'm feeding this with one note, this is going to be the first chord coming up and return to Ableton. The next note is going to generate this chord, and so on. So you can look here and see the red dot moving along. Can bypass this whole setup with the simple click here. So this is basically how I'm using this software in this particular setup. I mean, you can see you have a lot of other options to how to use this, but I'm just wanting to make you aware of its existence and the possibility of using it for anybody that perhaps likes, say, the Michael Brecker chord rotator stuff or stuff like this. But I mean, you can set up to have it play like chords in the background in any way you want to. So this is up to you, as always. Your imagination is going to have to govern how you use the stuff I'm presenting. I'm just saying that this is out here, and this is how I'm using it in this particular manner. So with this, see you next time. Bye.